countries, have a couple of beers, and discuss a stadium somewhere in the world and their experiences there. I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.
And we are excited to be here with you tonight. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the Stadium Journey YouTube channel, like this video, and leave comments. The official Stadium Journey review of today's venue can be found at stadiumjourney.com, or the link can be found right in the comments below. So let's get rolling. Dave, what are you drinking today?
So funny enough, we do this Obstructed Views, and one of the things that we feature is beer. And to be honest, I'm not a massively huge beer drinker. I very rarely actually, COVID's a little bit different, but pre-COVID, I very rarely bought beer. I just took whatever was in the fridge that people brought over and left. I'm pretty sure
that's a good strategy.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure this is one of those, but because we are in a food motif today for this one, a chocolate motif today, I have a milk stout brown cow, which has hints of chocolate and espresso, and that's from Calabogie Brewing, which is a little spot just outside of Ottawa. How about you?
Well, I think we have spoken many times about the virtues and the fine product that come from the great city of Portland, Maine. So tonight I actually have another beer from Portland, Maine. It is, let me get the glare off. There we go. Allagash White from Allagash Brewery. Let me tell a little, it's a white pale Belgian beer. Very, very tasty. I'll tell you how I found this beer and how I got to like this beer. During a trip up to Maine, actually earlier this year, earlier in 2021, we went up, and one of the places we like to go when we're up in Maine is this place called Top of the City. It's a top floor of a hotel, and you can oversee the whole Casco Bay and the whole city of Portland. Very nice place to go at night. And they were having this special with a Portland Sea Dogs ticket. You get the Allagash Whites for like $3 or $4. I forget the price exactly, but we had just come from a Sea Dogs game. So guess what? 6 or 7 beers later, Allagash White was one of my favorites, let me tell you. So if you were visiting today's destination, you might be drinking a Jolly Scott from one of my favorite breweries in the country, Appalachian Brewing Company, because today we are talking about the Giant Center, home of the Hershey Bears. Before we dive into our discussion, let's take a look at the stadium vitals. Okay, so we're talking about the Hershey Bears, the Giant Center, the home of the Hershey Bears, the longest continuously operating team in their same location in the American Hockey League. So Hershey is a legendary hockey city. In fact, the legendary Gordie Howe once said about Hershey, everyone who's anyone in the world of hockey has played in Hershey, even though Gordie himself never played in Hershey.
That's true. Did Gordie just say he's not a hockey somebody?
I guess not. Maybe if you accounted for visiting players too.
Maybe.
But I don't know if he was never in the AHL, so he would have never even played there.
That's true.
Maybe a preseason game or something. Who knows?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I've been accused once or twice of being the hockey snob, which I'm okay with. And I think we've had back and forth a few times about how much I like the AHL. I'm not a huge AHL person. I really enjoyed Hershey. I enjoyed just about everything about it. Now, I'm sure you're going to talk about the legendary Hershey Park Arena, and
of course.
I know when Dan and Kelly are on, they talk glowingly about Hershey Park Arena, and I have zero experience with Hershey Park Arena. It's a little bubble over on the side of the parking lot there. So I have nothing on Hershey Park Arena. But the Giant Center, I was really pleasantly surprised to the point where and even though I am a hockey snob and I haven't been to a ton of AHL venues, I've probably been to a good 12 or 13, and it's in my top 2 for sure.
And especially if you count the ones that were specifically made for an AHL team, because the league has grown and a lot of teams now play either in shared venues within NHL
Mm.
team, or in NBA arenas, as is the case in Cleveland. But the Giant Center was built specifically for the Bears, and it is a large place. I think it's 10 or 11,000 seats. The city of Hershey is not all that big, maybe 40,000 people. That's just a guess. But it's such a legendary place. And it's just outside, for those of you who don't know exactly where Hershey is, it's in central Pennsylvania, about 20 minutes west of or east of Harrisburg.
Yeah, Giant Center is 10.5, and I don't know, Hershey itself, I think population is only about 14,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Really small, right? Like, and that name, like, really it's the name that just brings everything together, right? So, you know, you hear Hershey, and of course, what do you think of? You think of chocolate, but you know, more so than that,
You're right, 15,000 people in Hershey.
that's how the Bears
That's how
came
they came to
about.
be. Yes.
They're still owned by like the non-food arm of the Hershey company, and they were founded by Milton Hershey.
Right. He
1930.
wanted some diversion for his workers. So
Mhm.
he built the amusement park and the hockey team and all these different things that you can find around the town to keep his workers happy when they weren't at work.
Right. 1932. So yeah, they've been around a long time. And talk about success. They have 11 Calder Cups, at least one from every decade from the 40s on, except
Wow.
for this one. I don't think they've hit this one yet.
The 20s or the 10s you're talking about?
The 20s.
They had one in the 10s. Yeah, well, it's only 2021.
Yeah.
So there's time to go. I don't know if we could call them the most successful AHL team, although they have the most championships. Some teams won almost as many in a shorter time span. Like if you look at the Cleveland Barons or the Buffalo Bisons, I think they won 7 or 8 apiece, but in a shorter time frame. But anyway, yeah, the Giant Center, for me, I've been to, counting defunct AHL arenas, probably close to 30, and Giant Center is right there at the top for me. I will start our discussion of the arena itself, though, with 2 negatives I have. Okay, there are 2 glaring negatives in my eyes. I've probably been to the Giant Center maybe a half dozen times, so I feel like I can speak pretty knowledgeably, if that's a word, about it. One is, and this is a pet peeve of mine for a lot of stadiums, and Hershey is guilty of this, the Giant Center is guilty of captive parking. What's around the Giant Center, even though it is in the same complex with Chocolate World in the amusement park, Hershey Park. Yeah, Hershey Park is the name of the amusement park, right? Even though that's all in the same complex, the only thing around the Giant Center is a gigantic parking lot. And it's kind of funny when you get in, because you come off of the road and you go in and you kind of circle the building a couple of times. It's like you're circling a toilet until you get closer and closer. And the other negative, and this is a glaring omission on the building design in a place that gets as cold as Hershey does in the winter, there's no lobby.
Can't say I thought about that.
Surprisingly, a lot of arenas in the Northeast do not have lobbies. And I can never understand when you're going to a game in January or February and you're standing outside in the freezing cold waiting to get inside or waiting in a line to be searched. That's even worse. When you're waiting in the security line outside in the cold. To me, that's a glaring omission. But once you get inside Giant Center, it's a really nice place.
Well, Giant Center built in 02, and I think it's fair to say that it was pre the super security era too, right? Like, were they using metal detectors and all that, like the airport style security when they opened up? I would think not. When you've got an AHL facility and you're trying to save some money, maybe that's where you save some money, right?
Yeah, could be.
I'm not sure.
Well, it does have indoor box offices, but it just doesn't have a lobby.
Right.
But yeah, once you get in, it's definitely, you can tell it's a product of its time, built in 02, you said. So it does not have the open concourse that overlooks the playing surface. It's got a covered concourse that circles 360 underneath the grandstands. The Bears probably have the best team store in all of the AHL. I would say they have if not the best fan support, they're in the top 5.
I would think so. They've been around for so long that
Absolutely. And they're always near the top of the list in attendance. The fans are all decked out. And yeah, a great thing about a team that's been around as long as Hershey, there's a lot of different jerseys. If you're someone who likes to see what kind of jerseys fans are wearing, you've got stuff going all the way back to the 70s, roaming the corridors of the Giant Center. They display their history pretty well on the concourse. There's displays here and there, as you might expect. A concession item at every stand are Hershey's chocolate bars. So it's a really nice place to be. And if for 10-5, it's not too huge, where even if you're sitting up in the back of a seating bowl, you still have a really nice view of the ice.
Isn't that like the perfect kind of AHL size? 10-5, 10,000, maybe a little smaller, something like that. That just seems like the niche size, and how some of these teams like, Manitoba and San Jose, how are they making it, sharing that NHL arena? I don't really know.
Or you think of Cleveland that shares with the Cavaliers.
Yeah. Really big, you're talking 15, 16, 18, 19,000 for
your
AHL
average
hockey.
Your average crowd in those cities is probably what, 2 or 3,000?
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, the history, that's, to me, that is such a huge piece, especially when your team is from 1932, right? You should have a ton of history that's out there. And it to me, it brings out that explorer piece. You see all those team photos, and who can you pick out? Hey, I've heard of this guy, or I've heard of that guy. Same sort of thing when you get like the local, in junior hockey, we have it a lot, like the local Hall of Fame, and you comb through it. And, I remember in Belleville, I was like, hey, there's Bobby Hull. I had no idea Bobby Hull was from Belleville. Hey, Bobby Hull's in the Belleville Sports Hall of Fame. Awesome. Same deal. I find it interesting that the general design, and again, from an outside perspective, the general design of the Giant Center isn't far off of Hershey Park Arena. It's kind of like that when you're looking at it from a top, it's kind of like a bubble, right? Rounded, long, kind of barnish. Clearly not in the same era, not a real classic old school hockey barn Giant Center anyway. But the rounded kind of roof, and two-tiered seating where the upper deck is decent. It's small. I think they do a better job at Giant Center than in some of the newer ones that I've been to in the AHL. Lehigh Valley comes to mind, where those ones are more like the horseshoe. And then if you're at the end of the horseshoe, you're kind of looking straight out at the other side of the horseshoe, across from the net, as opposed to having those rounded corners and having every seat kind of focus at center ice. So I thought the seating area at Hershey was a lot better than some of the other ones as well.
And you were talking about history. One thing that they have in Hershey that you probably won't find in a lot of other minor league hockey rinks, retired numbers.
Definitely.
They've been around so long.
Ton of them.
Yeah.
Most of those names,
from Frank Mathers, to newer guys like Mitch Lamoureux.
Most of those guys
span all the eras.
Mean nothing to me. The only one that I really recognized was Mike Nikoluk, and only because, when I was a little gaffer growing up in the early 80s, Mike Nikoluk was the coach of the completely inept, save for Rick Vive and John Henderson, Toronto Maple Leafs. So yeah, he was kind of like the first real head coach that I knew. He was the first head coach that I heard my dad ever grumble about. So,
so I guess, yeah, we're talking Hershey. If you're making a trip to Hershey to see the Bears, you can't just go just for the hockey game. Can't just go to the Giant Center. And luckily, you don't have to go too far to get some Hershey experience. You can just walk across the parking lot, and bam, you are in Chocolate World, which is really a glorified gift shop. But there's also a little bit of an attraction there at Chocolate World, where they take you through the making of their candy and stuff, and you go on this
absolutely
ride.
It's funny. My wife is is a big chocoholic, and this trip we didn't do with her. It was just the kids and I on March break, and you know, we sent her lots of pictures, and I think she was just upset with us.
With good reason, I guess. My
We
favorite
brought her
part of
some
the
stuff
ride,
back though.
oh, I'm sure. My favorite part of the ride at Chocolate World is at the end where they toast you like an almond,
Right.
and your little car is under the heat lamps.
Right. Yeah, no,
But
I
also,
enjoyed Chocolate World, and I know that you prefer the, you know, the inner city, the downtown location where you just walk out and go and do a few things.
mhm.
I mean, you could do that at Hershey. It's just, you know, you're doing Chocolate World or you're going to the
You can't
amusement
go down,
park
you can't
or
walk downtown from the Giant Center, I don't believe. But the
not
downtown is a
really.
pretty cool area to explore too. And for those of you who have not seen it, the lampposts in Hershey are all shaped like Hershey's Kisses. But also, if you walk a little bit further past Chocolate World, you come across the legendary Hershey Park Arena, which is still standing and which is still being used today for youth hockey and for local college teams. So, and if you go there during the day, it's unlocked. You can walk right in, and the place still smells like an old hockey barn. You get that hockey smell, which is usually not a pleasant smell, but somehow when you walk in this place, you're like, yeah, that's what this place should smell like.
Nothing like the smell of sweaty hockey equipment
Sweaty hockey gear.
to go with bad hot dogs and popcorn.
And oh man, when the Hershey Park Arena was in use, the concessions there, if yeah, we were to do a stadium journey review of it, the concessions would not have gotten a high score. And neither would have the comfort or the accessibility. Or I mean, so even though I think it's a place that a lot of people love, it's just a nostalgic piece of it that people love. It's not really that it was a great place, although it was. I loved going there for games. And you
Well,
also have, although it's not open during most of the Bear season, you have Hershey Park right there on the grounds as well.
mhm. Well, Hershey Park Arena, of course, we would be remiss to avoid saying how it was the home of Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game.
That's right. That's right. Which somehow a billion people have seen, and yet nobody was at.
I was not there and I did not see it, so I'm not even sure if I was born yet.
It wasn't even on television at the time, so there is really no record of it. But somehow it's one of those events where everybody says, "Yeah, I was there," or "Yeah, I watched it." No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Just up the road is the Outlet Mall, just around the corner. I did find kind of the negative, and that's maybe one of the parking lot kind of negatives is getting out and getting to the hotel was slow. You get
Yeah,
that.
well, that's like captive parking in when there's
Yeah.
one way in, one way out. Downtown Hershey, it's a nice city to visit. It's got some little shops. You were just checking out the map before we started recording. Definitely a great vacation destination in central Pennsylvania. Like I said, Harrisburg is 20 minutes away, so you also have areas like Lancaster and York. All that stuff is right nearby. So,
Well, and if you're a stadium geek like we are, or if you're an AHL geek like you are, you know, you're not far from some pretty decent rivalries. So, you know, you're not far from Allentown and you're not far from Wilkes-Barre. So, you know, you can make the road trip with the Bears and have them see them play the Phantoms or the Penguins or whatever. So it's that's sort of was central Pennsylvania, eastern central Pennsylvania. I mean, to me, it's one of the AHL kind of hotbeds now,
absolutely.
as opposed to, you know, in the old days when the Northeast was, but most of those teams now have gone west.
Gone west, yeah. And another thing, you might not think of this, but if you go at the right time of year, if you go right at the beginning of February, which we did one time, weather kind of got in our way, but Johnstown, home of the Charlestown Chiefs, is only a couple hours away. So if you time it right, you can be there for Groundhog's Day and all that good stuff. So like you said, Central PA, a great stadium journey, a great destination, and worthy of a visit. So
And And if you're an AHL person, it's got to be at the top of the list of places you have to go to.
So absolutely. Two thumbs up from us, it looks like. So that's our look at the Giant Center. We appreciate you tuning in, and we hope to see you on the road real soon. Cheers.
Cheers.